You're watching ABC10 Plus This Week.
Hello, I'm Nazi Javid. You're watching ABC10 This Week. A security expert gives insight after the FBI warned police about possible Iran drone attack targeting California. And in dollars and cents, the state controller explains how to spot tax scams before April 15th's filing deadline. Then we hit the back road. Sacramento is prominently featured in this year's Academy Awards. The capital city played a part in the Paul Thomas Anderson movie, One Battle After Another. ABC10's John Bartell takes us on the back roads of the movie's film locations. ABC10 This Week starts now.
Good evening. So great to have you here. I'm Laura Painter.
And I'm Chris Thomas. We do thank you for joining us.
Tonight, as the war with Iran continues, the FBI warns California law enforcement agencies Iran could launch retaliatory attacks here on the West Coast.
Governor Gavin Newsom is now responding to those reports. Take a listen.
We've been aware of that information. We've been working collaboratively through the SOC, which we established right after the war began, the State Operations Center. Drone issues have been always top of mind, and we've assembled some work groups specifically around those concerns.
And so tonight we're hearing from local experts about the possibility of retaliation attacks here in California.
ABC 10's Roxanne Elias has the details.
I think it is a cautionary warning, and I think it's one that we should take heed with.
Tom Parker is a retired assistant special agent who at one time was in charge of the FBI office in Los Angeles. He says the potential of a drone attack from a vessel off the California coast is a possibility with war in Iran.
This press release or media release that came out from the FBI a few days ago, they were very carefully worded. They said it could occur. And I think if the FBI had more positive information or positive intelligence, that warning would be much more serious.
According to ABC News, the alert was distributed at the end of last month and says, "We recently acquired information that as of early February 2026, Iran allegedly aspired to conduct a surprise attack using unmanned aerial vehicles from an unidentified vessel off the coast of the United States homeland, specifically against unspecified targets in California, in the event that the U.S. conducted strikes against Iran."
For those reasons is why I'd be like, I wouldn't be that concerned.
David Anderson Rogers, a professor of political science at California State University, Sacramento, says an attack is difficult to predict in times like these, but he doesn't think it would be the smartest move on Iran's part.
It certainly wouldn't have any purpose for advancing, their goal to stop the United States attack against them.
He says the biggest concern should instead be that the U.S. military launched a massive military attack against a sovereign nation state, violating international law.
If we're looking at dangers, the danger is that the United States is becoming basically a rogue actor in the international system. And that is dangerous. And I think it increases the risk to us as Americans.
He says the fact that we're even talking about this is because the United States is doing something it frankly should not be doing and should not have done. Still, Parker says at a time like this, protocols need to be followed. And first thing is to notify law enforcement.
Because they're the ones that are the closest to the potential targets. They are likely the first ones that would counter any type of a terrorist group that is preparing to do some kind of an attack. And they are really the eyes and ears of federal law enforcement in these situations.
In Sacramento, Roxanne Elias, ABC 10.
Roxanne, thank you. We reached out to the FBI's Sacramento office for comment, but they declined to speak with us today. Parker says the FBI and other federal law enforcement agencies are highly professional, and in many cases, threats like this are stopped before they happen. That can mean identifying the people involved early or taking steps to strengthen and protect potential targets here in the U.S.
Republican Congressman Kevin Kiley is seeking re-election. Thank you for joining us. I'm Alex Bell. After saying that he's running in Congressional District 6 due to Prop 50, he is now registering as no party preference, also known as independent here in California. Now, Kiley says that he is looking to distance himself from Republicans in Washington. ABC 10's Jeannie Nguyen is here with the details on Kiley's next move and what this will all mean for voters, of course.
Alex, not only did Congressman Kiley register as no party preference, but he's now considered an independent in Congress. Now, that announcement came this morning after he expressed frustrations with the partisanship in Washington. This move is something political analysts say could possibly sway some Democratic voters.
I re-registered under no party preference.
On top of changing his party registration, Congressman Kevin Kiley says he'll also be spending the rest of his time in Washington as an independent, but will still caucus with the Republicans for procedural reasons.
In terms of the way that I approach my role here, I am an independent, and as I have been throughout my time here, I'll be an independent voice fighting for our district.
Kiley's reasons for the change have stemmed from his growing frustrations with partisanship issues.
I think that the extreme hyper-partisanship we see around here is a big problem. I have been sounding this alarm for some time. I mean, it manifested itself in the longest shutdown, government shutdown in U.S. history.
Kiley is looking to keep his job, but this time he's hoping to win over voters under no party preference and secure a seat in the newly redrawn District 6. The current candidates for that district are mostly Democrats. Legislative analyst Chris McCaley believes this could be a big gamble for Kiley in the upcoming election.
Republican voters who perhaps have always been in his corner, will they stay with him now that he's left the Republican Party and vote for an independent? And will being an independent appeal to either other independents or even some Democratic voters?
Adding that the switch could be seen as a strategic move.
For him to announce switching to no party preference obviously is a big deal, but I think he is trying to obviously help get reelected in this district that clearly tends to go Democratic.
Now, before announcing a District 6 run, Kiley had also filed paperwork to potentially run in District 5 against Republican Congressman Tom McClintock. When asked if he was pressured by Republican leadership to not run in District 5, he said he had no conversations with anyone in leadership, and if he had, it would not have impacted his decision. Alex.
All right, Janie, thank you. Now, Kiley changing his affiliation could, of course, impact the House of Representatives. As early as 2026, the Republican Party holds a slim majority in the U.S. House of Representatives with 219 seats compared to 212 Democratic seats. Kiley becomes the first independent member of the House since former Michigan Representative Justin Amash left the GOP in 2019. Kiley joins independent senators Bernie Sanders of Vermont and Angus King of Maine as the only independents in Congress, although both Sanders and King caucus with Democrats.
In tonight's Dollars and Cents. The clock is ticking to file your taxes, but don't let the flurry of getting your taxes done lead you to simple mistakes that set you back or worse, fall victim to scams. I talk one-on-one with California State Controller and Franchise Tax Board Chair about what you need to know to protect yourself.
Scammers are already working.
State Controller Malia Cohen says scammers may pose as IRS or Franchise Tax Board employees to deceive taxpayers into sending money or sharing personal information. Common scams include texts, emails, calls, fake websites, and fraudulent mail.
Scammers are going to ask you to confirm your account information. Never do that. They may want you to confirm your social security number. Never do that.
Cohen says the IRS and the Franchise Tax Board are not going to reach out to you via a text message. She says the Franchise Tax Board will reach out to you via a letter, and that letter will go to the address they have on file for you, generally a home address that's verifiable.
How can taxpayers protect themselves?
No, taxpayers need to be vigilant. This is a joint effort. Now, on the Franchise Tax Board side of things, we are protecting your information. We're protecting your data. Things are very heavily encrypted. We need taxpayers to do their due diligence and protect their information.
One way to do that, Cohen says, is for people to file their taxes electronically.
What would a taxpayer stand to lose should they fall victim of a scam? What are these scammers after exactly?
Yeah. Well, the scammers are after several things. They're looking for your personal information, maybe some accounts, social security, PIN number. They're looking for this information to do a couple things. They can sell it on the black market. They can also use it to access online accounts. So you always have to be alert.
Don't forget, the deadline to file your taxes is April 15th. For more tax season advice and information, stream our dollars and cents coverage on the free ABC10 app. You can also email me your money questions at lpainter@abc10.com.
A group of Sacramentans is fighting for safer roads. Thank you for joining us. I'm Alex Bell. They are doing it in the form of a ballot initiative that would raise the local sales tax by 0.5%. ABC10's Becca Hotbecker joins us now in studio with more on this effort.
Alex, Sacramento ranks worst among the state's 15 largest cities for speed-related crashes. That's according to the latest data from the California Office of Traffic Safety. A group of Sacramentans wants to do something about it, but that takes money.
It's unacceptable to be the worst city in California, which is typically worse than other parts of the country because we have so many people.
Steve Cohn is co-chair of the Safer Sac Streets campaign, which submitted the City of Sacramento Safe Streets and Affordable Transit Measure of 2026 to the city clerk, which has approved it for signature gathering.
This measure would help fund safety improvements.
Sacramento's sales tax is currently 8.75%. That's below the statewide average across all cities of 8.96%. It was last raised 7 years ago by a half cent after voters passed an update to Measure U. If the Safer Sac Streets measure qualifies for the ballot and passes, Sacramento's sales tax would increase to 9.25%. About 40% of cities in California already have sales tax rates at or above that level, with 2 cities in LA County reaching as high as 11.25%. The state-required minimum sales tax in California is 7.25%.
It's about 70 to 75 million a year to start. It'd probably go up if the economy gets better, but that's a lot of money just for the city of Sacramento.
As he and the campaign's website explain, about half the funds will be spent on safer streets, like pothole repair, sidewalk and bike lane improvements. About half will fund safer, faster transit, ensuring more frequent and reliable bus and light rail service within city limits. And the rest will fund independent oversight and transit-oriented housing infrastructure. The measure says the funds cannot be used for other purposes.
But would voters have the appetite to approve a half-cent sales tax increase? I spoke with John Kupal of the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. He says he doesn't think so.
Any discussion of additional taxes in California is going to run into some strong headwinds.
He calls a sales tax highly regressive.
It doesn't fall that hard on the ultra wealthy because they don't spend a lot of their revenue on disposable consumer goods. But if you get into the working poor and middle class, obviously a sales tax increase hits them disproportionately harder.
He urges voters to reject it. Cohn says as the city is facing a major budget shortfall, it needs this transportation safety money more than ever.
It's enough when you combine with state, federal, private investment can really make a difference over time.
The group has until mid-June to get the approximately 30,000 signatures needed to qualify for the November ballot.
The campaign is holding an official kickoff meeting this Sunday afternoon and will begin collecting signatures after that. If they're successful in getting on the November ballot, the measure would require a simple majority to pass. The new tax would go into effect April 2027.
Well, California unions and Governor Gavin Newsom have been at odds over a return-to-work mandate. Following concerns after issuing a mandate last year, the governor temporarily pushed back the timeline.
ABC 10 State Matters political reporter Jenny Hudd joins us now. So, Jenny, that return-to-work deadline is nearly here. Where do things stand right now?
Well, as of now, most state employees will be required to return to the office for at least 4 days a week starting July 1st. A powerful labor union is trying to change that.
Why do workers need to come into the office when if we're not addressing things like parking, commute costs, and safe workplaces?
SEIU Local 1000, the largest public sector union in California, representing nearly 100,000 state employees, is trying to make remote work a permanent option.
What we've seen work over the last few years, and that is that the job could be done remotely.
And so you're saying even for agencies like yours that said we can't do telework, you're saying COVID kind of proved that it is in fact possible.
It absolutely showed that it is in fact possible.
In addition to full-time telework, the union is proposing free workplace parking for all state employees, a daily stipend of $25 for those who live far away from public transit, and a monthly stipend of $500 for those in high-crime worksite locations.
Do you have an estimate as to how much that would cost the state, though, additionally?
I don't. Maybe, lessen the hundreds of millions of dollars that they would be saving with telework.
Walls referring to a report by the state auditor's office that says telework can generate significant cost savings for the state when employees work remotely 3 or more days a week.
State workers' salaries are directly tied to the budget, even though we are less than 3% of the budget. It does save taxpayers money, it reduces traffic and pollution, and it helps keep experienced workers.
In response, the California Department of Human Resources says it, quote, respects the confidentiality of the bargaining process and does not speak on ongoing negotiations. Cal HR looks forward to bargaining in good faith with SEIU in the weeks ahead. The agency added that the return to work mandate could impact around 108,000 state employees who currently telework. And as of January 2025, they say about 52% of state employees work in jobs ineligible for telework, like first responders and maintenance workers.
We got to get these downtowns moving again. Got a sense of community and place.
That was the governor reiterating his support for in-person work at an unrelated press conference last month. We asked his office for an updated response to SEIU Local 1000's proposals, but did not hear back.
So if you expect us to revitalize downtown Sacramento, downtown LA, downtown Oakland, then you simply have to pay us more money.
In the state legislature, there is a bipartisan bill aiming to make telework a permanent option for state employees. It's set to be heard in the Assembly Public Employment and Retirement Committee in the coming weeks. Chris, Laura.
Meanwhile, a Reddit thread with hundreds of comments claims Twin Rivers used AI-generated images to show students in the classroom during the strike. So, of course, we investigated this. ABC10's Becca Hotbaker joins us live in studio. Becca, let us know what you found.
You know, Alex, I don't want to bury the lead here. Our investigation determined the images are not AI. The district shared the original files with us, and I dived deep into the metadata. But what ended up in the district's Facebook post are distorted versions of those originals.
At first glance, this Facebook post from the Twin Rivers Unified School District, published 12:45 Monday afternoon, looks normal, showing kids in the classroom during the teacher strike. But a closer look reveals distortions, as Twin Rivers teacher and parent Christina Hawthorne told ABC10 on the picket line Tuesday morning.
They posted pictures of students in classrooms that seemed to look like AI. Their faces were melting, their hands were melting, same water bottles. There was a water bottle that looked like it had a rat in it. So they're not addressing the children learning at all right now.
Indeed, some students' faces appear misshapen or not really there at all. A clock on the wall has gibberish instead of numbers. A kid's hand seems to melt right into a toy on the playground. And here's the alleged rat in the water bottle. A Reddit thread calling it out has more than 220 comments, and the district's Facebook post itself has 180, including nice AI smushed up faces in that last one. The AI is sending me, and that, my friends, is how you know there's a problem. And on this one, somebody commented, this picture appears to be from years ago. I knew these students when they were little, and I retired 8 years ago. So we asked the district if the images are AI generated or outdated. A spokesperson told us in part those claims are false. The photos were taken by staff with cell phones during the school day at 2 sites on March 5th and March 9th. Many cell phones automatically enhance photos to make them look better, which can sometimes add strange marks or effects. The photos were also sent to us through email, which additionally compressed the files, reducing the image quality. We are providing you with the original photos with metadata for comparison. We downloaded the original 8 photo files and first compared them visually. Everything wonky about the images in the Facebook post are clear here. The faces, including the clock face, the kid's hand on the toy. Even the rat looks more like an image of the background bent through a full water bottle. 7 of the 8 files had GPS data. The ones showing the older kids are placed at F.C. Joyce Elementary, a TK through 8th school in Twin Rivers. Those are dated between 12:36 and 1:20 on Friday, March 6th. The 3 with GPS were taken on an iPhone 12, the other on an iPhone 13 Pro Max. The ones showing the younger kids are located at Woodridge Elementary, which is preschool through 6th grade. Those are dated between 9:31 and 10:14 Monday morning, all taken on an iPhone 13 Pro Max. The district's Facebook post was published 2.5 hours later. The only discrepancy between the district's response and what we found is the date. A spokesperson said they were taken on March 5th and 9th. Metadata shows they were taken on March 6th and 9th. The teacher strike started on March 5th.
By our investigation, the photos are real. But whether in the transfer or upload process or both, they became distorted. I asked the district spokesperson whether anybody had reviewed the post before publishing. She did not answer that particular question. Alex?
All right, Becca, thank you.
Well, tonight, California and the White House are facing off again, this time over clean energy policies.
Today, the federal government sued California over its electric vehicle mandate, which sets a timeline for the complete transition to zero-emissions vehicles in the state.
ABC 10 State Matters political reporter Jenny Ha is here now to explain the complicated back and forth.
Well, at its core, this is another debate over federal versus state authority, and it's the latest showdown between President Trump and Governor Gavin Newsom. The big question now is, does California have the power to set its own clean energy policies?
This is just another attack on California, but again, we're resilient. We'll stand up.
Since 2022, California has had an electric vehicle mandate requiring all new cars sold to be zero-emissions vehicles by 2035. The regulation, called Advanced Clean Cars 2, was approved by then-President Joe Biden and is overseen by the State Air Resources Board, better known as CARB. Now, the mandate is being challenged by President Trump.
That it's nonsensical. I don't understand why the President of the United States wants to attack 1 in 8 Americans who call California home. We've been regulating tailpipe emissions since before the EPA existed.
The suit alleges California's rule is a quote-unquote backdoor EV mandate and that there are already federal vehicle fuel economy standards set by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration under the Department of Transportation. But under the Federal Clean Air Act, California has repeatedly received waivers to set its own stricter clean energy standards. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says, quote, Gavin Newsom is determined to continue pushing Democrats' radical EV fantasy, even if doing so is illegal.
He's scrambling and he's blaming Californians. He's blaming California, the fact that we are a leader in the world on clean energy.
Newsom's office responded in part, quote, on the same day Trump bragged on social media that he's happy to let the Iran war drag on while drivers keep paying more at the pump and oil companies pocket record profits, his administration sued California for advancing cleaner, cheaper cars that free drivers from the grip of foreign oil markets and the bad actors who stand to profit from global instability. This lawsuit is meritless, and we're not backing down from this fight. CARB says it cannot comment on active litigation.
It's not a step back yet because we aren't going to let it just stand.
California has faced criticism, though, that consumers aren't buying electric cars fast enough to meet the state's goals. The state's EV mandate requires 35% of new cars sold in 2026 to be zero-emissions vehicles, and that number rises to 68% for 2030 models.
We're not as far as we should be. We want to be further.
In January, the California Energy Commission reported the sale of over 2.5 million zero-emissions vehicles as of 2025, calling it an important milestone for the state.
The implications of this legal battle will extend beyond California, likely affecting how other states can set their own climate policies. And California Senator Adam Schiff has weighed in, saying Californians will push back and that he will help lead the charge in the Senate. Chris, Laura.
All right, Jenny Ha, thank you.
Sacramento may be California's capital city, but in the Paul Thomas Anderson film, One Battle After Another, most people wouldn't even recognize it.
There's so many places that you wouldn't guess were in Sacramento. They focused on places that really could be anywhere and kind of illustrate just that fact that Sacramento can be portrayed as any town USA.
Local Sacramentan Tyler Siemens is one of the more experienced location scouts for the Sacramento region. He's worked on notable films like Academy Award-winning Lady Bird, the independent film Sacramento, and most recently, One Battle After Another.
Why did Paul Thomas Anderson choose so many scenes here in Sacramento?
You know, I know that he was initially drawn here for the brutalist architecture that he thought would match certain scenes, and for whatever reason, when they came here to scout initially, he found all of these other places that he felt really fit the look that he was going for.
Tyler says the film was shot in more than a dozen locations across Sacramento, and he was nice enough to show us the most notable ones, starting off with the courthouse.
This building specifically is one of the things that brought Paul Thomas Anderson to this area. This is a brutalist architectural style where you see the exposed concrete, very raw and grandiose looking.
Director Paul Thomas Anderson wanted a gritty look for his film, which follows Bob Ferguson, a former radical in hiding, played by Leonardo DiCaprio. Bob is trying to protect his daughter, Willa, from his nemesis, Colonel Lockjaw, played by Sean Penn.
This area right here kicks off like the massive car chase that took place in Sacramento, where we had dozens and dozens of stunt drivers, crashes, there was a huge helicopter watching the whole thing.
Action takes place throughout Sacramento, over the Tower Bridge, through the city streets, and even some unassuming places, like this boarded-up downtown bank.
Filled it with air cannons and a bunch of dust and stuff, so that when the time came, it, boom, huge explosion, all the windows shattered out.
Filming in Sacramento took several weeks, and Tyler says many of the actors, like Leonardo DiCaprio, spent their off time around the city, often incognito.
Whenever he would go out to any of our local restaurants, he would wear a full disguise, including wig and facial hair and all that. So you might have seen Leo while you were out, but you probably didn't know it.
From Sacramento, a film location for One Battle After Another and other films, I'm John Bartel. Hope to see you on the backroads.
A Roseville man celebrated his birthday in an unusual way this year with pizza at a Costco food court. What started as a quick grocery trip turned into a surprise party he never saw coming.
Vivian Sid organized the surprise after years of watching her husband Will's love for Costco. She coordinated a plan where guests grabbed shopping carts and pretended to shop until they ran into him inside the store. Within minutes, Will began noticing a lot of familiar faces in the aisles and started to suspect that something was going on.
Okay, so eventually he made his way to the front of the store where family, friends, and pizza from the food court were waiting. Now, Will says he was originally expecting a steak dinner, but the surprise meant more than the meal.
You find joy in doing things where you have a chance to share the moments with your family and close friends. As you realize that there are the simple things in life that bring you joy. It doesn't have to be an expensive dinner.
Oh, I bet that was fun for everybody that was involved, including other customers that got to see it. Will says one of the reasons he loves Costco so much is because of the employees. He says even when they're busy, they always smile and ask how you're doing.
That's awesome, and the pizza is good. He saw his friends. He can always go out to the expensive dinner next week.
I just love that he was expecting steak and he got Costco pizza.
Yeah, he's like, this is actually okay.
I know, but he broke it down to the most important things, and that was surrounded by family and friends, as well as Costco employees that he loves to see.
Indeed.
Thanks for watching ABC 10 This Week. We're here 24/7 on the free ABC 10 TV streaming app. You can get your local news and weather anytime, anywhere. I'm Nazi Javid. Take care, and I'll see you next time.